Guys, this is Scribbler Carlos. On today's video, I'm going to bring to you my rolling review of one of the ultimate Disney classics. Actually, the second movie of all time regarding Disney. Like, if we go in chronological order, of course, I'm talking about the classic of Pinocchio. The classic of Pinocchio. So here we go, guys. And again, here we go, guys. I really love this again movie. And again, like I said, if we go by chronological order, we have Snow White, then it's this one, Pinocchio. And I mean, this is Pinocchio in the first, or actually, I think, you guys can correct me, the second movie that we get to see a setting in Europe. What I mean by that, we go to the land of meatballs, Italy, the land of Ferrari, Italy. So, with that being said, guys, here we go. I love this movie because we have great characters like, first of all, Jiminy Cricket. Jiminy Cricket is our narrator slash second main character. Second main character of six. And obviously Jiminy Cricket is the narrator of this of Pinocchio. And of course, we can't forget the introduction or the intro to the movie. Wish Upon a Star. I mean, that's the Disney Pictures graphic background theme. The theme that we have as Disney fans. Have become accustomed to. We have gotten used to that wonderful melody without any voices. But Jiminy Cricket brings the words into action of the song, and it immediately transports us to Disneyland, Disneyland slash Epcot, Disneyland Tokyo, Disneyland Paris, Disneyland Shanghai, and Epcot and Hollywood Studios and Disney California Adventure. But the story in itself is so wonderful because obviously the main character is Pinocchio. But before we get to Pinocchio himself, it's his creator, his father figure, or his father, Geppetto, who is a toy maker, who all he wants is for Pinocchio to come alive, like a real boy. And the fairy godmother grants Geppetto's wish because he has brought throughout his many decades, many years as a toy maker in Italy, or in this suburban part of Italy, many joys to us kids with his toy making skill, toy making mastery. Second, Second, uh, my other favorite character that involves kind of Geppetto is Figaro, his cat, and his cat. He's pretty funny. I mean, um, he always he gets scared of he gets scared by Pinocchio. He 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 when Geppetto asks him to close the door or close the window so both of them could go to sleep. He react Figaro reacts in a mean, funny way. He's like, "Come on, dude, let me get some meows some meowsies." I mean, who can blame Figaro for getting mad? Then we have Cleo, uh, Geppetto's goldfish, and Cleo is enamored with or crushing or is in love with Figaro, but of course, cats like Figaro, normal cats like Figaro, eat fish. So, but Figaro doesn't eat Cleo, although he's mean. He's mean like a normal cat that wants to eat a goldfish like Cleo, but to the point of not eating Cleo. That's what I mean. He's mean like a normal like a classic cat that wants to eat Cleo, the goldfish, but that's all that's all. A mean cat, a mean eating, a mean cat that doesn't have the urge or the desire to eat Cleo, but he just like and Cleo is like dude, I'm giving you the Morse code of I love you, the fish Morse code of I love you, and you don't reciprocate. Then, we obviously have the fairy godmother who brings Pinocchio to life, who brings Pinocchio to life, and she says in her wishing granting words, Pinocchio, I bring you to life, and you'll be a good soul, a good wooden boy, and hopefully, or if you do this, you will become unwoodified, and you will become a real boy. But it's up to you to make Geppetto happy, and it's up to you as well to be a good soul boy. And your conscience will guide you, will guide you to make good quality, good quality decisions, and you won't. And one of the factors to make your wish come true of becoming a real boy is do not fall into temptation. And of course, Geppetto or Jiminy Cricket, when Pinocchio comes to life, he does it. He asks the fairy godmother what is a conscience, and then what is the word conscience mean, and of course. And of course, Jimmy Cricket says, well, conscience. Jiminy Cricket stops Pinocchio to explain to him what is a conscience, and Jiminy Cricket is exactly right. Your conscience is your inner mental voice that tells you what is good from bad. Then after hearing this wonderful and eloquent and eloquent description of the conscience, the fairy godmother asks Jiminy Cricket, do you want to be Pinocchio's conscious Jedi Master, aka also known as the conscious guide, or aka better known as conscience. And Jiminy Cricket is like Jiminy Cricket, and I love this part of the scene of their conversation. He's like, turn it. He turns red, and because obviously the fairy godmother is so beautiful and so majestic. She's majestically beautiful, and that turns poor Jiminy Cricket into a red tomato. In fact, he turns red. He becomes bashful for a little bit, just for 1 second. Then the fairy godmother turns Jiminy Cricket's clothes, ripped up clothes, into a shiny black, kind of leathery black Disney leather black overcoat, and of course his classic, and of course the hat, and of course Jiminy Cricket's classic bluish, grayish, bluish, grayish hat, and then the fairy godmother flies away, or disappears. Then we get, I believe one of my favorite songs from the early days of Disney, uh, the Jiminy Cricket song. I I don't know the name of the Jiminy's song in English. I don't know the name of it, so I'm gonna give to you the Spanish pronunciation. Dame un silbito. Dame un silbito, which means give me a little whistle. And both obviously the Spanish version of this of Jiminy Cricket song is my favorite because I watch everything on Disney Plus in Spanish. But I bet, even though I haven't seen the movie in English, all of the movie in English, I bet Jiminy's song is also great. But guys, I highly recommend. I highly recommend you if you want to learn Spanish in a fun way instead of using using Babbel, which I'm not saying Babbel is not it's not a fun app to use to learn a language, but if you want to bring a little bit of Disney magic, I highly recommend that you should watch Disney Plus stuff / Disney stuff in Spanish. And to be more specific, the movie of Pinocchio in Spanish. I think you will love the movie of Pinocchio in Spanish. But either way, both ways, in English and in Spanish, Jiminy Cricket song is great. Then, of course, Geppetto and Figaro go back to sleep, and of course, Pinocchio is like to Geppetto, why do we have to go to sleep? And Geppetto's like, because Pinocchio. And I love Pinocchio's response. Okay, or uh-huh. Along the lines of uh-huh. And the next morning, the ultimate experience of any kid, boy or girl, is to go to school. And since it's the morning after Pinocchio's first night alive, he's excited to go to school. But to our dismay, and to our funny dismay, he gets stopped by Little John and his sidekick, who, again, I can't remember the sidekick's name. Little John's sidekick. I think it's Lionel, but he's a cat. And both Little John and Lionel. Guys, guys, you can correct me on Little John's psychic's name, but I think it's Lionel. I'm gonna go with that. But they they're first both Little John and Lionel walking are walking are walking towards Pinocchio or walking towards Pinocchio when Little John realizes that Pinocchio is not just a boy. He's a wooden boy, and he's like, I know who would pay us, me and you, Lionel. Good money for Pinocchio, for Pinocchio's services. So, they stumble upon a poster of the Great Stromboli, who is the first antagonist of the movie, and he's a puppeteer slash dirty rotten crook, and he's a puppeteer, and he has made he's stopping, or his show. He has stopped at the town he has stopped at the little Italian village where this wonderful movie is set in Italy, and both Little John and Lionel stop Pinocchio, and they say, where are you going? And Pinocchio says, I'm going to school. And Little John and Lionel are like, no, you don't want to go to school. You want to become an actor. And Little John and Lionel convince. They have a good convincing argument why Pinocchio should not go to school and become an actor. And eventually, but then we see Jiminy Cricket basically running the best, doing his best impression of the Flash, and just getting his new coat. He's getting dressed in a Flash, like the Flash, or he's trying to dress himself like the Flash because he had woken up late to accompanied or to be Pinocchio's companion at school, and to be his conscience, his newly named conscience from the fairy godmother. But tragically, to Jiminy Cricket's dismay and misfortune, after having a little sidebar discussion or side FaceTime chat with Pinocchio of saying to Little John and to Lionel that Pinocchio is not going to be an actor. Instead of following Jiminy Cricket's advice, Jiminy's advice, Pinocchio, in a funny way, ignores his conscience's advice and just runs along with, goes with Lionel and Little John. Then we see that Pinocchio is on stage and he has become Stromboli's new attraction, and I think Stromboli's slogan for Pinocchio is the wooden boy without puppet strings, because again, Pinocchio, before he was brought to life by the blue fairy, godmother, blue fairy, sorry. He was a normal puppet. And and I mean and Stromboli's beaming, happy that he has gotten a new cash cow, meaning Pinocchio, and Pinocchio's song, no strings on me. His first song on stage for Stromboli. No strings on me. I believe that's the Pinocchio song. Is one of my favorites because he interacts with many puppets, but one of my favorite parts of the song is when he's doing a Russian. I don't know what's the dance called, but he does the Russian kick dance with Russian puppets, and that's a good. First of all, it's a good dance number, but it's good choreography from the movie. Then after No Strings on Me finishes, we get inside Stromboli's carriage, where he's biting coins to see if they're real, like real gold coins, or if they're fake. I don't know how to explain it, but after that we get to see the real intentions of Stromboli. So he tosses. He basically flings poor Pinocchio into a cage and says, "You're not going home to Geppetto. You're going to be my new cash cow. And when you get old and your wood turns frail and weak, I'm going to chop you up." Yes, guys, This is just I I think some of you realize that Pinocchio has great songs. That it's a great movie, but we don't real we just don't know how dark how how dark and how 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 gloom and doom and how this movie is a it's a great movie, but how much darkness, how much dark side to coin a phrase from from Star Wars it gets. So after hearing this, Pinocchio starts like Pinocchio realizes that oh my god, I need to get out of this out of this cage, and he starts crying. He starts and he starts crying and crying out or yelling and crying out for Jiminy Cricket, for Jiminy Cricket, and meanwhile Jiminy Cricket. By the way, Jiminy Cricket is is sitting. I'm guessing sitting on top of a light pole while it's raining, and he's like, "Oh, Pinocchio, you really don't need me. You have become a star." But then you realize, before he becomes a superstar in the puppetry circuit, let me say my final goodbye, Jiminy Cricket, and so he hops very quickly to and hops on or runs and hops to or onto Stromboli's carriage and then Jiminy Cricket realizes that Pinocchio is not in a very shiny starry place, and he realizes that Jiminy Cricket realizes that Pinocchio is in this bird cage. Then Jiminy Cricket asks Pinocchio, "What happened, Pinocchio? Like, dude, bro, what happened?" And then Pinocchio says, Stromboli says, "When I'm done, when he sees me, when Stromboli sees me that I'm not his cash cow anymore, he's gonna chop me up like a piece of wood, and he's gonna use my wood to heat up his fireplace." Then we see Jiminy Cricket just blow a gasket out, a shock gasket, and he gets into a keyhole into the cage keyhole to unlock Pinocchio's bird cage, but it's too rusty. Then all of a sudden, when all hope is lost, the blue fairy appears and she asks Pinocchio, "What happened?" Just like Jiminy Cricket. And then we get the classic scene where Pinocchio explains 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 what happened to him, but then we get the classic uh, Pinocchio's lying long nose, and he basically is telling 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 lies to to uh to 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 the blue fairy, and his nose becomes long and turns into a bird's nest. Then 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 the blue fairy says, "Okay, I'm going to help you out. But Pinocchio, this is the last time that I'm going to help you out. The next time that you get in trouble, I won't I won't be able to help you." Then the blue fairy gets Pinocchio with Jiminy Cricket, including Jiminy Cricket, including Jiminy, and when again, then then both Jiminy Cricket and Pinocchio get out of Stromboli's carriage and then we get one of the creepiest scenes, in my opinion, in all of Disney's in all of Disney in all of Disney of all time. We see Little John and Lionel having a conversation with a coachman, or a carriage 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 driver, but this is an evil carriage driver, and the carriage driver is like, "I have a plan to make us more money. By the way, thank you for giving me the money that Stromboli gave you in return for giving him Pinocchio." But both Little John and Lionel are just hearing evil carriage man, or evil carriage man's plan, and his plan is pretty creepy. He has a boat set to travel to Funland, and but he needs customers, or he needs boat riders. By what I mean by that, guys, is little kids to ride to boat those little kids to Funland / Gameland, which again sounds fun at first by the premise. Funland / Gameland. Then the coachman says, after the little twerps get their minds stuffed and faces stuffed with the fun they're going to have. They're going to turn into they're going to turn into donkeys, and I'm going to sell them. And after he, and after hearing this, Little John says to the evil carriage man, "What about the law? What about the law?" And then of course after hearing uh, the carriage man's final step to his evil plan, both Lionel and Little John are afraid. They're just they're creeped out. They're just apoplectically scared, and in a way, I think by their apoplectic, scary faces, scary facial expression, they realize both Little John and Lionel realize that what did we do? But instead of feeling contrition, they go along with the evil carriage man's plan, and and at this time, Pinocchio, and it's night. Pinocchio's running and determined to return home, or to go back home, go to sleep. Then the next day, go to school and get back on track in his quest to become a real boy. But again, to Pinocchio's misfortune, and to Jiminy Cricket's misfortune as well, Little John and Lionel stop Pinocchio in his tracks, and they ask him, how did it go with Stromboli? And Pinocchio said, not good. Then Little John basically plays a evil trick on Pinocchio, and makes him believe that he himself is sick with some illness, and Little John then to confirm his diagnosis, he pulls out a cloth, a white cloth rag, and says to Pinocchio, "Can you tell me what you see?" And Pinocchio says, I see spots." And then Little John says, "Oh no, you have temporal fever dumpling syndrome." Guys, I don't know how to, again, both in English and in Spanish, I don't know how to pronounce Little John's fake diagnosis for uh for for uh for 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 Pinocchio. But but Little John the doctor recommends for Pinocchio to get better to go to to go to to go to Gangland slash Funland, and that's how we will get better and well. And to our dismay, and to Jiminy Cricket's dismay, uh, Pinocchio go is picked up by the evil carriage man, and he meets while in the on the carriage, he meets his friend. I'm gonna say it in Spanish, guys. Polia, which means I don't know the English pronunciation of Pinocchio's friend that he meets in the carriage. All I know is the Spanish pronunciation, Polia. But anyway, they're both he and his friend are happy with the other kids, and they're excited to 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 go to to go to this paradise of fun. And what I mean by paradise of fun, it has your typical your fair rides, but it also has adult stuff for kids, like their own fighting room where they can beat up where they can beat up where they could beat up kids and get into a big shamazzle or rumble, and they have this land also has a house, a type house building that looks like a house that the kids can just throw and smash windows with anything or any weapon that they can imagine. Then we see Pinocchio and Polia are playing pool, and this is where the movie gets even darker, and we haven't seen any Disney movie, present or future or since then, had this type of content in a movie since Pinocchio. We see Polia and Pinocchio are playing pool, and they're having fun. Then we see Pinocchio. Then we see in Pinocchio's hand a beer in his hand. Then we see Pinocchio smoking, and after smoking, or after, instead of blowing out the smoke. He swallows the smoke and his face turns many colors. Many colors. Green, then a palish white. Palish white, and he becomes disoriented. This smoke. I would describe it. The best way I could describe it is smoking drunk. He becomes. He's in a drunken state, not by the beer, but by the cigar by the cigar smoke that he swallowed, that he basically swallowed, that he basically swallowed, and his eyes watered, teared up, watered up. And by this time, Jiminy Cricket is like, dude, what happened? He's like utterly shocked. The audience are just shocked by the scenes that we just saw. Of course, now we don't see those types of scenes. But my opinion of this scene, it was groundbreaking that Walt Disney was showing us that his movies were not are for kids, are for us, like young people and young Disney fans. But he was a groundbreaking creator, and by that I mean with this pool scene, he was able to teach us in a way that smoking and drinking can do some bad stuff to you, and I mean that was groundbreaking, and that is groundbreaking. And again, since Pinocchio, we haven't seen any scenes like that since. Which tells you that Walt Disney was ahead of his time, was ahead of his conscience. What I mean by conscience, or ahead of his conscience, it was ahead of his time. He was the first, and I think only director, the first only creative director to bring us joy with this movie, to be specifically, but also to bring us into adulthood problems, adulthood temptations that some of us have faced, like smoking problem, drinking problem. But anyway, At this point, Jiminy Cricket is like, what? Pinocchio, what in the blue cricket did you, what in the blue cricket did you do? Look at you. I didn't, I didn't leave you like, I, I didn't, I didn't see you like this. I thought you were running home. I thought we were going home, going back home to Geppetto. Then Pelia, his, Pinocchio's friend, says to Jiminy Cricket, "Who are you? Who are you, little dude?" And Jiminy Cricket is like, "Pinocchio's conscience." And Pelia is like, "Really? Aren't conscience are supposed to be big and not tiny like you?" And then later on in the conversation, in this very intense and guidance conversation, instead of siding with Jiminy Cricket slash his voice of reason, Pinocchio sides with Pelia, and Jiminy Cricket says, "What? Pelia is your best friend? I thought I was your best friend. I thought I was your conscience slash best friend." Then Jiminy Cricket storms off the pool bar, and then Pelia says, "We finally got rid of that time of your so-called conscience." Then we get to see that Pelia's arrogance and immaturity and his greed for the game of pool, and bad behavior overall, transforms him into a donkey. And then Pinocchio, after realizing that Pelia is turning into a donkey, he's shocked to see his friend turn into a donkey, and he, by this time, guys, Pinocchio already has donkey years. Then Pinocchio realizes, I need to get out of this temptation hole, and then he and Jiminy Cricket run home, but Jiminy Cricket and Pinocchio don't see anyone's home at Pinocchio's house slash Geppetto's house, and then when all hope is lost, and Pinocchio says, I'm never going to see my dad. Two glowing pigeons, which which in this case means, which in this case means there's always a glimmer of hope. These two pigeons bring down a letter that reads, that Jiminy Cricket reads, and that says Geppetto is looking for you, Pinocchio, but his boat with Cleo, his boat or motor transportation, his makeshift boat with Cleo and Figaro were swallowed, were gulped up or swallowed by the whale, by the super whale monster. So after hearing this, we see Pinocchio run like a very fast and determined very fast F1 car, or very determined F1 car, and he says to Jiminy Cricket, I'm going down there, meaning the ocean, and to rescue my dad. And Jiminy Cricket is like, are you crazy? Are you crazy, Pinocchio? Are you insane? Like, insane in a good way, but also being like, dude, you shouldn't do this. You can't do it. You can't do this by yourself. And Pinocchio says to Jiminy Cricket, you're not going to stop me. I'm going. Then Jiminy Cricket says, You're not going. I'm coming with you. So we see Jiminy Cricket and Pinocchio first tie a rock to Pinocchio's way, a rock with a rope attached to the rock to weigh them down, to weigh Pinocchio and Jiminy Cricket down, so they could go down deep into the ocean. And that's exactly what happens. So Pinocchio jumps the cliff to the ocean deep down below, and they're looking for monster, and they're asking the fish, and every time that they mention the word or the name of monster, the fish that they talk to run or swim away out of terror. Then all of a sudden they see, or they get a glimpse of monster, and he's about to, or he's about to swallow a big school of fish. But anyway, eventually, Pinocchio gets swallowed up by monster himself, and indeed, Geppetto, Cleo, and Figaro are inside monster's stomach, and they're alive, alive, but just they're alive, but they're 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 melancholic. They're in despair, and they have run out of fish to eat. When all of a sudden the same school of fish that monster had ate or had ate had ate or had swallowed up was coming towards Geppetto and Cleo's vicinity where the boat and they were stationed at, which again at this point Geppetto didn't realize that the schoolfish had also included Pinocchio, but eventually Pinocchio was like, Papa Geppetto, it's me, Pinocchio, and then we get to see the happy reunion of father and son, and of course with Cleo and Figaro, and then Geppetto was like, I'm glad to see you, Pinocchio. Then Geppetto was petting his son's hair when he realizes that Pinocchio has donkey ears, and of course his donkey tail, and Figaro and Cleo are scared too, they freak out, and they are just like, they freak out, and they get terrified by seeing Pinocchio donkey ears and his donkey tail, which who can blame him? But then after getting the happy shock of seeing each other, Pinocchio and Geppetto, and vice versa with Cleo and Figaro, Pinocchio sees a couple pieces of wood and says, Dad, Papa Geppetto, I'm going to get us out of here. And so Pinocchio starts gathering up some wood and piling up these pieces of wood, and starts to build a fire. To build the fire, which creates smoke, and he blows the smoke that is coming out of the fire up to monsters nose and blowhole, which leads to monsters sneezing the holy heck, sneezing out Geppetto and Pinocchio with Figaro and Cleo on their boat. And to make it short and sweet, guys, Monster gets really mad, really mad. He's actually furious, and Geppetto and Pinocchio are just trying to get away on the makeshift boat, but they don't succeed until they get knocked off by the boat, until they get knocked off by monster from their boat, from their makeshift boat, and then Pinocchio tries to swim with while pulling his father's shirt, his Papa Geppetto's shirt, and then he realized when all hope is lost again Pinocchio sees a big two rocks with a big hole to go inside and put themselves into safety. But before he can do that, monster jumps is swimming very fast to them, and then monster jumps out of speed towards the rock formation, towards this two rock formation with a hole in between the rocks, in between these two rocks, and slams into the rock, which basically kills monster himself out, kills him. I don't know if it kills him, the impact, or basically knocks him, but we see Geppetto basically knocked out. Cleo and Figaro are safe, but they're just like separated and spread out just by a couple meters from each other. Then Geppetto is like speaking to himself and says, Pinocchio. Then Geppetto gets himself together, gets his bearings and himself together when he realizes that Pinocchio's face is face up, but face down on his stomach, and his face is underwater. And then the next scene, we see Geppetto, Cleo, and Figaro and Jiminy Cricket just basically praying that Pinocchio gets out of his unconscious state when the blue fairy appears and says to Pinocchio, well again, he's unconscious. The blue fairy says, Pinocchio, you have shown your courage. And you have shown your ability and goodwill by trying to save your father from monster, that I'm going to grant you your wish, the wish that you'll have always wanted. to become a real boy. Then we see the blue fairy turn 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 Pinocchio into a real boy. At this time, at this time, at this time, Geppetto, Figaro, and Cleo and Jiminy Cricket are disconsolate, and then and then then Pinocchio says to Geppetto, "Look, Papa Geppetto, I'm alive!" And then Geppetto says, "Pinocchio, you're Pinocchio, you're a lot like in a sarcastic way, like in a sarcastic, funny way. A lot, Pinocchio, yes, you are alive." Then, then, then Papa Geppetto says, realizes that Pinocchio is really really alive, and then we see Jiminy Cricket say thank you to the blue fairy, or to the star, to the shiny star, to the shiny star, and then we get to see we see a light, and that light transforms into a little plaque for Jiminy Cricket, and that plaque says, now, in short terms, now it's official. Jiminy Cricket is an official conscience, and a guide for goodwill. And then Jiminy Cricket says, thank you, Miss Fairy. Thank you, Miss Fairy. And then Jiminy Cricket. Then we go back to the narrator spot where this wonderful movie began, and then this wonderful movie comes to an end. So with that being said, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. Let me know what parts of this wonderful movie did you like, and tell me, is your conscience your guide? So with that being said, leave a like, and thank you guys. Bye.